Hey guys, welcome to Andrew's Field Gear, and today I'm going to be going over the KJW M1911A1. So first off, let's talk about what I'm wearing. These are some marine utilities that I took a bit of a liberty with. These are actually 507s. The Marines never use 507s, they only use 107s. But I had an extra pair, I figured I may as well make something out of them. So I just took a stencil for USMC, spray painted on there with a stencil, or made a stencil rather. And then this hat, it's just a Marine 8-point cover, so that's that. But on to the 1911. A lot of things come in the box with the 1911. So you've got, obviously, the gun itself, one magazine, about 50 BBs, which I threw out immediately, and a disassembly tool and a loading tool, which I will grab immediately. So one of the cool things about this 1911 is that it has it locks open on empty, like a real thing. So that's very nice. Another neat feature is that the orange tip just pops right off if you don't want that for like photos and whatnot. Unfortunately, if you need to keep that orange tip on for your local regulations or whatever, it does come off fairly easily, as I mentioned. So be careful with that. Could get into some trouble with the law. Another neat thing is that the grip safety does in fact work, so you can see the hammer's back. My hand is not in the grip, Manual safety is disengaged, so we're on fire, but I cannot drop the hammer. Now, when I'm gripping the gun, hammer drops. So manual safety works as well, that's to be expected, Grip safety is disengaged, I can't pull the trigger. Pretty cool. Some more cool things about it. It isn't really highly realistic in some aspects, but frankly, for Airsoft, that is good. For instance, it has more than 7 rounds of capacity, which is excellent. This is a 26-round magazine. In my experience, the gas generally starts to deplete around 25 rounds, 24 rounds. I've never gotten a full 26, and I do lubricate the gun every time I use it. So, the procedure to load it, actually, to grab some BBs first. That is somewhat important. So I got my speed loader here. And what you're going to do, you're going to take your loading tool and grab this little notch right there. So there's a notch in the loading tool. You're going to put it on the magazine follower. See that little raised bit right there? You're going to pull it down until it meets with the magazine floor plate. You don't need to let the follower return up until you finish loading, however. So do not let that happen. You do need to exert some force going inwards towards the magazine to keep that from happening. So you've got this little slot right here, right there. That goes into the magazine floor plate right there. So hook, pull, and secure. So it is now secure, and the magazine is ready to load with the follower out of the way. So now you can load either from the top, single loading, or from the bottom, loading more than one using your speed loader, which you really should buy if you're going to do anything with Airsoft. So you can either load this up to the appropriate 7 rounds as it would be with the real thing, or you can do more if you actually want to have fun with it. So here I've only got like 7 rounds in it because I only have 7 rounds in my speed loader. But that's entirely alright. So I'm just going to put this in one of my ammo pouches. Anyway, after that, do not just let the follower slide up. You will wind up losing all of your BBs. They will all go all over the room, like that. Like I just demonstrated. So, make sure you gently ease the follower up. It can be a bit fiddly. This is a strong magazine spring. This gun has a fairly high rate of fire. It is as fast as you can pull the trigger, if not faster, despite being gas blowback. So, cool thing about it, it is gas blowback, fully so. Each time you pull the trigger, it goes all the way back, it goes all the way forward, alright? So, bang, 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 whatever. So, you put this in. Obviously, the slide lock, obviously the slide picks up a new round and does not lock open, or not empty. So, you can kind of dry cycle it. However, I do believe I've gotten a BB stuck in the barrel doing that. So Just going to clear that real quick. You can do that by smacking it. That is always my first solution to any problem I have. So, yeah. Anyway, let's go outside and fire this. Alright, so I'm here on my back porch. It's cold, rainy, and dark, so sorry if the exposure is a bit too high. Anyway, let's go over shooting this 1911. So I've got the manual safety on right now. Turn that off. Hear a nice audible click. I'm compressing the grip safety. Take my shooting position. I'm going to fire 8 shots, just like a real 1911, alright? As you can see, it locked open. Ready for a new mag change. So, all in all, shooting performance is very good. It's what you'd expect from a green gas pistol. Pretty powerful, you know, looks really cool, feels great. I gotta say, this is just an excellent piece of machinery. Very cool. So, next up, let's go over how to clean it. Alright, now let's go over cleaning the KJW M1911. As with any gas blowback pistol, it is very important to clean this thing to keep it up to spec. Alright, you're going to lose gas efficiency, you're going to lose FPS if you don't clean it. Eventually it's going to just tear itself apart. So don't let that happen. Don't want to have to spend another $130 on a new KJW 1911. But, you know, you may have to if you don't do this. So first off, remove the magazine, alright? So you do that, press the magazine release on this side, the magazine just slides on out, alright? So next up, you need something called silicone oil. I use a spray just because that's easier. You can use a thicker oil. Avoid like 3-in-1 oils, anything like that, because that will eat up the rubber in the O-rings. So obviously that's bad, you don't want that to happen. So make sure you got your hammer cocked back and your magazine out. So then pull back the slide so the disassembly lever mates up with that little notch in the slide right there, right? So they're kind of aligned, and now push on this side of the disassembly lever, that little button, right? That'll pop it out on this side just a tiny little bit, at which point you can pull it on out with the other hand, right? So now the slide and the frame are no longer mated together. You can bring it off, and bada bing, bada boom. Well, you got your two separate parts of the 1911. So first up, let's go over maintenance of the lower, the frame, I guess, actually not a lower. This part right here is got your trigger control group in it, your fire control group, excuse me. It's got your trigger, your magazine, all that stuff, hammer, your out of battery safety, your manual safety, all that stuff. So I may go over how to disassemble this further, but frankly, that is a pain in my rear. So yeah, sorry, my parents watch this channel as well, so got to keep it clean. Anyway, what we're gonna do: take some silicone oil right here. Look at the fire control group down here and spray it. I've already done that today. I don't want to do it again. If I overlube this thing, then it may the tolerances are tight enough that it may interfere with that. So next up, we've got the gas system itself. This is this red part right here. Whenever the slide goes back like this, that's when the gas is actually being used to propel a BB out the barrel. So just spray that down with some silicone oil, as we've gone over. Make sure you hit that little square right there. If you don't, there's no point in doing it. So yeah, this is especially if you're using propane. Green gas does have silicone oil mixed in it, but I am not rich enough to have propane because to have green gas, because holy crap, man, that stuff is expensive. This is like $2 at REI or Walmart or wherever you may get your propane, but green gas is like $10 for a can half that size. So anyway, rant over. We've gotten that out of the way, and the gas system is lubricated. So next up, the barrel. I don't have it with me. You can use like a USGI cleaning rod with the brush attachment to go through it. Make sure you don't get it into the nozzle of the gas system. I've done that in the past. man, that is scary because you may break it. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. To disassemble it, you know, it's just like a real, or similar to a real 1911. Pull the mainspring out, or recoil spring rather. Mainspring is in the frame. Pull the recoil spring cap out. Pull out this bushing right here by twisting it to the left, like that. Pulling, and then remove the barrel from the front. Make sure that these two pieces right here, that these lugs are in line and not stuck on each other. That can be a real pain to fix, because you can't get it back out of the gun once it is like that, and inside the gun once they're interfering with each other. So you see right here, we've got the nozzle. There's a little tiny bit of dirt on that. What you're going to want to do is use a microfiber cloth, like this one. Got it at Harbor Freight, 4 for $3, pretty good deal. So just use that. Do not use soap. That can eat up the O-rings. So don't use soap, don't use water, just do it dry, if necessary. You can use lubricant if you want, I guess, but why bother? Obviously, don't soak this thing in gasoline, kerosene, anything like that. That'll eat up the O-rings. Also will eat up the panes, also will eat up like the entire thing. This stuff is like, it's Chinesium, so don't really trust it in that kind of environment. So magazines, care for the magazine is also important. Green gas is not very good in cold temperatures, so make sure you have it well lubricated if you're going to be in the cold. I've met people who use hand warmers on the outside of their magazine pouches, use some rubber bands to secure them to the outside, and keep the magazines warm while they're not in use. Just hope your hand heat around the grip will keep the magazine warm enough to not totally crap out while they're actually firing it. So you're just going to want to spray that gasket right there, and this little valve down here, and this little valve right here, or this like striker, I guess, with the silicone oil. So more or less is more. No, wait, more is more here. Sorry, and just go all out on it, man. You don't want this stuff to break. So it will not break by overlubing it. It will break by underlubing it. All right, so that's how I see it at least. Anyway, reassembly for the slide at least. The lower is a lot more difficult to assemble or disassemble and reassemble. The upper, obviously on the real 1911, that strips easier than the lower does. So put your barrel back in like that to the front. Put your bushing on, or I guess you should put your mainspring cap on first. So we've got your mainspring cap in there. Mainspring and mainspring guide rod right here. So put the mainspring through there like that into the mainspring cap. Press the guide rod down onto the guide rod, which is on the hop up unit. You can adjust the hop as well. I didn't go over this. You can adjust that with a little dial that's right up in there. You can barely see it. Don't really need to mess with that very much. It's not like elevation or windage with a real firearm. You really shouldn't be moving it very much at all. So put your bushing in, insert it at an angle. So this lug right here is aligned with this opening in the slide. There is a similar cutout that will allow you to bring it all the way around and lock it in place. So that's how it works on the 1911. That's how it works on this thing. As you can see, it is locked in place and ready to go. Next up, place the slide back onto the 1911, or back onto the frame. Pull the slide back about halfway. I like to do it like that with my finger in the ejection ports, because that way I will be in for a rude awakening if I were to let it go and let it slam home. So I just have to pay attention to what I'm doing. So then put your slide lock, disassembly lever, back in. You're ready to fire. So magazine back in, and I'm not going to shoot it in here because now I have gas in it and BBs, but you're ready to go. So thank you for watching. Holster, M1916. These things were dyed black after World War II. So if you're doing like I can't remember if they were dyed black in Korea. I'm afraid. So if you're doing Vietnam, post-Vietnam, you're gonna want black ones. If you're doing like pre-Vietnam, maybe Korea, I don't really know, you're gonna want a brown one. Obviously World War I, brown one. Magazine pouch. These things are the excuse me. These things were designed in the early 1910s or early 1910s with the introduction of the M1911. and then they saw a redesign in 1942, became designated the M1942. They used a snap system, like the M1961 system, and then in 1950 something, they switched over to slide keepers like this, with no change in designation. So I've got these for sale. If you want one, $15, I'll link my eBay page. Sell all kinds of things there. So that's about all for cleaning, disassembly, and reassembly of the 1911. So, final thoughts on the KJW M1911. I really like it. It's an excellent gun for the price, $130. One magazine, $130. Could be worse. It runs off of green gas, my model does. The only model with a flush floor plate is the green gas model. You cannot get a CO2 model with a flush magazine. So you'll have this little bulbous end to the magazine sticking out of your gun. Looks kind of ugly. I can't have that because I want this to be somewhat realistic, but that's alright. One bad thing I do have to say about this is the magazines are really, really expensive. They're about $30 a pop, which unfortunately I just haven't gotten around to buying any because that's a lot of money. I would need to spend $60 on magazines to fill out my magazine pouch. Frankly, that's insane. So while I do love the gun, I really enjoy playing with it. It's an excellent piece in the field. It looks great, functions great. That's a big thing, alright? You're going to be spending 50% of the gun's price on magazines. So if you're willing to do that, get the KJW 1911. It's excellent. If you're not willing to do that, and I don't blame you, then get like KWC. Or get the CO2 version, which is cheaper, or for magazines, they're cheaper. Now, as I mentioned before, CO2, you have that little bottom on the magazine, but that's perfectly alright. Also, you might be wondering, Andrew, what are you doing? Trigger discipline. It's an airsoft gun. I don't care. It's not loaded. No green gas. So, now one problem with green gas is it smells awful. With propane, it smells even worse. And you have to make sure it's very well lubricated. You do not want this thing to dry out. If the seals in this thing crack, it is worthless. You need to get new seals, new O-rings, or, God forbid, new magazines, which is horrible. Because, once again, $30 per magazine, that's a lot of money. This is a similar problem with the WeTech M16s. They're very, very expensive magazines. So, anyway, fit and finish is excellent. This gun looks gorgeous. The slide wobbles barely any. It wobbles less than a real 1911 does, alright? So, that is telling you something right there about the quality that KJW went to, alright? If yours is going to be like mine, I don't know, but I sure hope it is. So, some problems I've had with it, the finish does like to wear off a bit. The paint's, you look on the back strap of the gun right here, the paint has begun to wear off. Is that a big deal? In my opinion, not really. Gives it a little bit of a more worn look, more worn down, On the slide as well, there's a little bit of paint worn off. So I think that looks cool, but if you don't like that, then just be aware. I have not heard of any sort of catastrophic malfunctions like in the KWC with slides breaking, but just because I haven't heard of it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Alright, so keep that in mind. The sights, as in M1911A1 fashion, are absolutely awful. If you want to do this accurate to like Vietnam, World War II, or whatever, you can't replace them. It sucks, I agree, but it's honestly, it's not even better than nothing. So just do like that, point fire it. It looks cool and it's fun. So, and with 26 rounds, you're probably gonna hit something. So, all in all, do I recommend this gun? Absolutely. It is excellent. It is great. Great use of your money. Especially if you have plenty of it. It's going to cost you $190 in total to get the magazines and the gun that you will need to have fun in the field. Now, other stuff you can get with it would be like a holster. So, for instance, you can get the nylon holsters used in the 80s, or you can get a real leather USGI holster like what I'm wearing now. You can't see it. You could see it earlier in the video. Pretty cool stuff. Magazine pouches, I am selling them, actually, for $15 a pop. New old stock, 1980s dated, so have a link to that in the description. Holds 2 magazines, really good deal. You know, slide keepers, fits in your Alice belt, M1956 belts, M36 belts, whatever it may be. Really cool stuff. I highly recommend this gun. I cannot sing its praises enough. All right, it is realistic. The blowback feels great. You know, the gun itself looks good. It is true to the original 1911A1. I mean, man, having this thing in my room is just cool. All right. My friends always ask me about it when they come over. They're like, Andrew, what brand is that gun? And I say KJW proudly, because it is an excellent gun. Well engineered, well designed. So, anyway, that's about all. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. So, bye.